This time, I'm going to try to tell a story from start to finish, rather than just going all over the place. So, I'm just going to tell a story. I'm not going to try to defend it or justify it or go off on any tangents. I'm just going to get the whole story out. This is what I believe. This is what my religion, which I call lucidity, holds to be true. Before the beginning, there was only God. There was no space, there was no time, there was no sin. There was only God. And God basked in God's own glory for a timeless epoch, which was simultaneously half an instant and twice an eternity, because it's incomprehensible and timeless. This timeless epoch lasted until God made the choice to fold into God's self by creating a whole, by saying, I'm not content with just it being me and only me, and that's it. I want something else. And here's where it's weird. Given the fact that it must be something else, it must then not be God. It must then not be sinless. Whatever it is that God is going to create is necessarily sinful. That's a very key thing to remember during this story, is that when God makes this decision to create us, to create creation, God does this knowing that the creation is evil. At the very least, in comparison to God, it is evil. And yet, God chooses to create it, despite the fact that it's evil, despite the fact that it hurts God to create it, despite the fact that it's dark and wretched, and despite the fact that God doesn't need anything. God already had God's self, which was perfection. There was no need for creation at all. It wasn't that God got tired of being alone. It wasn't that God wanted something novel and new. It wasn't that God hoped for a better future. It was that God chose to do this without needing to do it and without having any benefit to God at all. Not at all. Not in the past, the present, or the future. God does not and has not and will not ever benefit from having made the decision to create something less than God, something less than perfection. God does not need us, and God does not have any need to create us. We exist as a charity because God chose to do it, not because God benefits from it. God did not get lonely. God did not get angry. God did not get sad. God did not suffer until we made him suffer, or her, or whatever you want to call it. God did not suffer until we made God suffer. We are the only reason that God continues to suffer, and we compound God's suffering every moment it gets worse, not better, for God. So this is something to keep in mind as a context about this choice that God made. It is a profound choice. God does not benefit at all. God is only ever hurt by it, and it doesn't need to be there. There is no need for creation. It does not need to be here, and yet it is here. And even though it's unnecessary, and even though it's evil, and even though it causes God suffering, And even though that suffering compounds infinitely every single day, God still chose to do it. And that I think really is the ultimate core essence of lucidity, of my religion. It revolves and orbits around and is centered and focused on that choice that God made to create us at the cost of himself, with no hope of it ever getting better. Now, Jesus at least had God. Jesus had heaven. Jesus had a reward. He had salvation. He had heaven. He had righteousness. He had other people. He had God to help in his betterment and in his eventual redemption of the world and himself and everything in existence. He had something to look forward to. He has a position right next to God, as close to perfection as you can possibly fucking get. He got it. What the fuck did God get? God had to watch his own sons die in order to have creation get created.